Well, hello, Mr. Jason.
Hello there.
I like the believe hat.
You know that? You like that?
I like it, and I know that.
It's the first step.
Yeah. The first step to believing is believing.
It's the first step to any outcome.
That's true. You got to believe it. If you don't believe it, then what happens?
Well, you won't behave, and then you won't become.
Oh, behave.
Oh, behave.
Insurance dudes are on a mission to escape being handcuffed by our agencies.
How? By uncovering the secrets to creating a predictable, consistent, and profitable agency sales machine.
I am Craig Pretzinger.
I am Jason Feldman.
We are agents.
We are insurance dudes.
So that's interesting that hat takes us to where we're going to go. I noticed something here in the agency. And we know that everything is kind of cyclical, right? We go up and down, and we can have some great months. And what'll happen is maybe we take the foot off the gas a little bit or start getting a little bit lazy with some stuff because now we just won the Super Bowl. We had a great month, and then it starts to,
Or you take 7 vacations,
right?
In 1 year,
and you don't have the right people working, and then all of a sudden it goes crazy. Who knows, right? Anything can happen,
right?
So. I know and you're right. I've been out a lot. And what I've noticed is I think you can't set the expectations so high that when you're gone or when you're not involved directly in the day-to-day operations, the expectations, sure, you can set your expectations anywhere. But I think that, at least in my experience, having expectations too high, maybe the same or better than I would expect of myself to occur if I'm not there, is unrealistic, right? Those are unrealistic expectations because I don't think that anybody who works for you is ever going to care or be more passionate about your business than you, right? For them, it's job.
Right.
And so by default, the more that somebody is away, the more the owner is away, the greater likelihood that things are going to start to atrophy a little bit, right? Things are going to, maybe we will skip a meeting, or maybe we're going to stop listening to calls, or maybe we're going to, some little parts of the process start potentially falling off.
Sure.
And now we're not fully optimized. And then eventually, right, because we know that there's some lag, right? There's some leading and some lagging indicators, but whatever we're following, there's a potential that now, because we stopped doing these things in a couple months, or even in a month, or in a couple weeks, whatever, in some time frame, we're going to start getting that decline. And it's going to, and it may be difficult at that time to identify exactly the cause of the decline, right?
Yep.
So, in sharing my story, and I know I'm eating up. Do you have anything you want to comment so far?
Yeah, and I know the way you are because I know the way I am, and we're very similar. And I think, and I think that we probably have a problem that not a lot. I think agents probably have less of a problem with. So I don't know how relevant it is, but is being consistent with checking those KPIs.
Yeah.
Right. You expect like certain KPIs, and you might set the expectation out there.
Yep.
But our employees know that sometimes we forget about them for a while. So it's like, are they going to keep asking me or whatever? And then it falls off, and then you go back to them like, oh, I didn't know we were still doing that. It's like,
right,
dude, come on.
Yeah. When was the the memo that circulated that said we're no longer going to be tracking our quotes?
Right.
Right. Like, why would that make sense? So yeah, totally. Right. So we get to this point where, okay, we have all the tools and the resources, right? You and I have both built the thing because we know that we cannot be as consistent personally all the time. So in doing so, we create the process that creates the consistency, right? So we don't have to deal with that. So I know if our sales are this, then it means I should have, or let me go the other way. I know that if I spent this much on leads and I have this many people making dials, I have this many people doing quotes, I have a pretty good idea how many quotes need to be done to get to a certain result, and based on a certain spend, where I should be, right? Like a pretty good gauge, right? Like historically. So we know what we need to put in, and we know where we need to get. But if we take our hands off the wheel and put it on cruise control, we may not be watching some of those leading indicators that are going to tell us that we're going to have some problems. So I'll give you an example. I go back to, like, as I notice that I get back from Portugal, gone a month, then I go to Hawaii, gone almost another month. So that's 2 months, not very engaged. And I hope none of them are listening because, well, you know what, I do hope they're listening because they'll know that I am much more engaged and looking at those numbers now. So, so those numbers, I was getting lazy at looking at, right? And it's easy. Look for the week. If there's 4 producers, there should be 40 quoted households a day. That's 200 quoted households for the week, 800 for the month. Not very difficult, right? So I know, okay, week 1, did we do 200? Week 2, are we at 400? Week 3, are we at 600? Did we hit these leading indicator numbers that have to be hit in order to get to the result that we want to get? Right. And as I look back, guess what?
What? Nope.
So, and it wasn't terrible, but it's like 7, right? 7. Everybody's get 7, 8 instead of 10. Well, okay, that's 30% less. So if they're doing 30% less quotes over the month, do you think it's safe to say that we did 30% less business?
Yep.
Guess what we did?
40% less.
30% less business. Like the numbers always work out, right?
Yeah.
And it's so funny that we have the formula right in front. We know the path, and still it's challenging just to manage all of the pieces.
Yeah.
Sometimes, right?
Yeah, it's funny too, because like there's leading indicators, which are all the activity leading up to the thing. And then you have your lagging indicators, which is after the thing, like after the sales. And then like we had this conversation the other day about a post that we did in the books of face. And like we're talking about like which is better, right? And the thing is like you do have your leading indicators and your lagging indicators. Your lagging indicators are going to be the thing that you feel. You're going to feel that. Why? You're going to feel that in the pocketbook. You're going to see it on the sales. Yep. The sales is the lagging indicator in the sale pipeline. The leading indicators are the activities. So it's very important for us as a high performance agent, if that's what you want to be. If you want to be one, you have to be paying attention to the leading indicators because that is going to represent what's happening in the future. Your lagging indicators are in the past. So that has to do with the leading indicators of a month ago or 2 months ago.
Yeah. If you're making decisions on your based off of sales, then you're driving by looking in the rearview mirror.
And I think no matter what we're doing in the office, like you can, like the pros have all leading indicators, whether it's on service, on just like every part of everything that you're doing. You need to figure out those leading indicators, and that is what you need to control instead of because a lot of times we get those lagging indicators and then we get emotional about them. I can't believe that's not happening. It's like, why? How can you not believe it? Like,
right.
Like, but what was it that led up to that? If you have poor retention, if you have a bad loss ratio, then you need to put in those leading indicators. Like, what are the indicators that would show that those policies are written poorly, that you're getting the bad loss ratio? What's showing that people are leaving? Like, what little things can we do, and how can we create those KPIs, those leading indicators, so that we can know whether or not we're going to get that poor outcome?
Right.
And if we focus on the front end, like prior to the thing happening, and create the systems there, then the things won't happen. We won't have to be don't ever be emotional about the result of something. Use the result of something to show what's actually going on. Because the result, going back to the believe, behave, become.
Yeah.
It's like once something has become something, it's because of the prior activities.
Yes.
Like, don't be mad at that. Just look at it as like, okay, we suck at this right now. So what are the things that led up to this, and what can we do to change it? Put that in place, and don't be mad at the result, because the results will change as long as you have a system in place that you're constantly looking at the KPIs. Your team knows exactly what to do to change it, and then stay consistent daily.
Yeah. I love it. I love everything you just said there. And I think that it's so great.
You just said there.
I love it. You complete me. No, I love, now I don't even know. Now I don't even know what I love. No, I'm just messing with you. So I'm thinking about how, I mean, even fairly recently, where I'm talking about that, where the sales are lower and I get upset, right? I'm over there getting upset, maybe complaining to you, Mr. Go Lucky doesn't get as upset over there. And I
do.
go, and I know that you've looked at me and said, well, maybe you're mad at yourself. And it's really hard to hear, especially when you're mad and you realize it is on me, right? Like, I'm mad that they didn't write 120 when they should have written 120, but instead they wrote 90. But then it's like, had I been looking at the leading indicators, I would have known 777 every day just doesn't get you to where I needed to get. They have to quote 10 new households each. If it was 10, 10, 10, guess what? We would have done 120. I wouldn't have to be mad at myself.
Yep.
Because I actually would have looked at those things, right?
So yeah, and if it's hard for you to like follow up on those things, and it's a like, then have your manager, your team, like text you those numbers. You know what I mean? Like every week on Fridays, if there's 4 people in the office and it's supposed to be, what did you say?
Well, minus 10 quoted households works it out. That's the number.
There's 4 agents.
40, yeah. So 200.
So there should be 200. So then it's like 200, and then what was the actual number, and why? Where did the other 3 go, or 25, and how are we going to make it up the next week? Like, that's what I want the service manager to text me every single Friday, because that is the most important metric in the. You know what I mean? Like, set up stuff like that can help you in your agency. And if you're like me and Craig, you're going to need that stuff, and that's what we do to like make up for
lost time.
Well, for us, it's like we're not going to be the most detailed on that, but like put somebody in charge of that one thing, that, you know what I mean, so that you don't have to do it.
I mean, this is one of the highest value activities of the agency, right? I basically wasn't really plugged into anything, and that's why this wasn't done. If I'm gonna not, and so it's important. If I know this is the highest value thing, I definitely should not be answering the phone and helping somebody with a claim instead of doing this, right? Like, right. And I think that, well, I know that for many years I would find the other thing, reactionary thing, that's much easier just to handle, instead of the proactive thing that's actually going to contribute to better results.
Yes, and I know that probably came off cold, that if somebody has a claim, to not help them. But I know what you're saying.
Well, no, because you know what? There's somebody else in the office that's much better equipped
100%
to do it, knows how to do it better. And that's what they should be doing, right? That's what the team should be doing. If the team was the ones holding themselves accountable for doing 10 quoted households during the day, then it's not going to happen.
Well, it's like this. You using your time as an investment, looking at it as an investment, what's going to serve you in the future? What's going to pay off over and over and over again? Setting those systems up, like you focusing on that, is going to pay off time. It's going to be compound results, where it's like, if you handle that immediate thing, it's just what you're handling that day, and it's done. So it's squashed. It's gone. It's like you're not getting the compound results from it. So I think that the high level agent needs to look at the compounding result type thing. Like, how do we take our time, 10 minutes today, that will pay off dividends in the future, right?
Dividends.
Which is, it's hard to do. It's not the easiest thing.
It's not. You got to do it.
Do you want to sign us out, Craig? Can you do that?
Well, if you haven't been to our webpage on the World Wide Web, that's www.theidudes.com. There's a great cartoon of Mr. Jason over there without his believe hat. And if you like this, go ahead and pound the subscribe button with one of those hammers from Super Mario Brothers.
Yes.
Ka-ting, ka-ting.
A link to the hammer, to the Amazon link, will be in the comments below.
Can you get those now?
No, I don't know.
From the Koopa Troopas?
Right.
Oh, no, they have boomerangs. Anyway, we'll see you on the flippity flip.